In a country where young girls were told to lower their voices, stay indoors, and never dream too loudly, one girl dared to pick up a cricket ball, and that single decision would change the history of women's cricket in Pakistan forever. This is the story of Shaiza Khan, not just a cricketer, but a revolutionary with a bat in her hand and fire in her heart. Born on March 18, 1969, in Karachi, Shaiza grew up in privilege. Her father was a successful carpet merchant, and she had access to good education, opportunity, and comfort. But comfort was never her destiny. As a child, she played basketball and badminton, because organized women's cricket barely existed. There were no academies, no women's leagues, no pathways, just silence. But silence never lasts when someone refuses to accept it. Alongside her younger sister Charmine, Shaiza developed an obsession with cricket. While other girls were discouraged from stepping into playgrounds, the sisters imagined something radical, representing Pakistan. It sounded impossible. In the late 1980s, women playing cricket publicly in Pakistan was seen as rebellion, and rebellion had consequences. At just 19 years old, during a winter break from boarding school in England, Shaiza returned to Karachi with a bold plan. She and Charmine announced an exhibition match, a women's team against former male internationals. The reaction was immediate and terrifying. Death threats began pouring in from extremist groups who believed women had no place on a cricket field. Religious pressure mounted. Fear surrounded their home. The match was changed to women versus women. It was played under heavy police protection. No spectators, no cheers, just armed guards and tension in the air. After the match, their father insisted they leave the country for safety. Most people would have stopped there. Shaiza didn't. In England, she continued her education at Concord College, later studying textile, engineering at the University of Leeds. But cricket was never far from her soul. At Leeds, she became the first non-British captain of the university's women's cricket team. A powerful statement in itself. In 1991, playing for Middlesex women, she took 6 wickets for 39 runs in a single match. She wasn't just participating anymore, she was dominating. But even with her success abroad, she knew something felt incomplete. She could have stayed in England, built a comfortable cricket career, avoided danger. Instead, she made a decision that would define her legacy. She returned to Pakistan, not just to play cricket, but to build it from nothing. When Shaiza Khan returned to Pakistan in 1996, she wasn't coming back as a player. She was returning as a founder. Women's cricket in Pakistan did not exist in any official form. There were no selectors, no domestic structure, no funding, no recognition, just scattered dreams waiting for someone brave enough to organize them. So Shaiza and her sister Charmine did something extraordinary. They built an entire cricket system from their own home. Their house in Karachi transformed into a training academy. The tennis court became an AstroTurf pitch. Imported bowling machines arrived from abroad. Nets were installed. Bedrooms turned into dormitories for young girls coming from different cities. Up to 80 girls attended trials, recruited through simple newspaper advertisements. Many had never held a cricket bat before. Some were hockey players. Others were javelin throwers. They weren't polished cricketers. They were raw potential, and Shaiza believed in them. In 1996, the sisters officially registered the Pakistan Women's Cricket Control Association, the PWCCA. It was more than paperwork. It was rebellion formalized. But the resistance wasn't over. A rival women's body challenged their legitimacy. The Pakistan Cricket Board denied them access to grounds, coaches, and umpires. Religious pressure still lingered in the background. Every door they knocked on seemed closed, so they created their own doors. On September 30th, 1996, the PWCCA gained associate membership in the International Women's Cricket Council. It was a breakthrough. Pakistan could now compete internationally, and suddenly the dream was no longer private. It was national. In January 1997, Pakistan's women's cricket team stepped onto the field in Christchurch, New Zealand for their first one-day international. The result was brutal. Pakistan were bowled out for 56. New Zealand won by 10 wickets. It could have been humiliating, but for Shaiza it was historic, because that day women representing Pakistan stood on an international cricket field for the first time, and she was their captain. Just months later, she led Pakistan into the 1997 Women's World Cup. They didn't win matches. They were outplayed by stronger, experienced teams like England and Australia. But something more important was happening. A team that didn't exist 2 years earlier was now competing on the world stage, and in the middle of that storm stood Shaiza Khan, calm, tactical, unbreakable. She wasn't just playing cricket. She was proving that Pakistani women belonged in global sport, and the world was starting to notice. By the early 2000s, Shaiza Khan was no longer just fighting for recognition. She was building dominance. Years of struggle had hardened her. The defeats of 1997 were no longer wounds. They were lessons. Pakistan's women were improving. They were learning how to compete, how to endure, how to believe. And at the center of it all was their captain, a leg spinner with patience, precision, and quiet fire. Shaiza's bowling was not loud or flashy. It was intelligent. She understood rhythm. She studied batters. She bowled long spells, exhausting opponents mentally before defeating them technically. In 2001, during a home series against the Netherlands, Pakistan achieved something historic, their first international series victory. Shaiza led from the front. Her spell of 5 for 35 became a statement. Pakistan wasn't just participating anymore, they were winning. But nothing could prepare the cricket world for what happened in March 2004. The West Indies arrived in Karachi for a rare women's test match. Test cricket was scarce in women's cricket, and rarer still in Pakistan. The national stadium pitch began to turn. The conditions favored spin, and Shaiza Khan sensed opportunity. Pakistan posted a massive 426 for 7 declared, powered by Kiran Baluch's Marathon 242. With a commanding lead, Shaiza enforced the follow-on. Then she unleashed one of the greatest bowling performances in women's cricket history. 7 wickets for 59 runs in the first innings, 6 wickets for 167 in the second, 13 wickets in a single test match, 13 for 226. It was the best bowling figures ever recorded by a captain in women's test history. But there was more. In that spell, she claimed a hat trick, only the second in women's test cricket since 1958. 3 batters dismissed in 3 consecutive deliveries. Precision, control, history. She bowled 71 overs in that match, relentless, disciplined, unstoppable. The match ended in a draw, but for Pakistan, it felt like victory, because that performance announced something powerful. Pakistan's women had arrived, and their captain had carved her name into the record books. Across just 3 test matches in her career, she took 19 wickets at an average of 24. In 40 one-day internationals, she claimed 63 wickets. She wasn't the loudest player. She wasn't the highest scorer. But she was the backbone, the strategist, the pioneer who proved that resistance could transform into excellence. And as 2004 drew to a close, Shaiza Khan quietly stepped away from international cricket. Not because the fight was over, but because the foundation had been built. When Shaiza Khan stepped away from international cricket in 2004, there were no grand farewell ceremonies, no roaring stadiums chanting her name, no glittering tribute videos. But sometimes the loudest legacies are built in silence. Because by the time she retired, women's cricket in Pakistan was no longer an idea whispered in defiance. It was a structure. It was a system. It was a national team with experience, identity, and belief. After retirement, Shaiza didn't disappear. She shifted her focus toward mentoring young players and strengthening domestic pathways. The Karachi women's team benefited from her experience, discipline, and strategic understanding of the game. More importantly, the institutional battle she fought had finally turned. The Pakistan Women's Cricket Control Association eventually reconciled with the Pakistan Cricket Board. Women's cricket was absorbed into official governance structures. What once faced rejection now had recognition. What once trained in a private home now trained in national facilities. And nearly 80% of Pakistan's women's squad by 2009 had been groomed through the system she helped build. Think about that. A generation of cricketers, standing on a platform created by a woman who once played under police protection. Her records still speak. The world record for the best bowling figures by a captain in women's test. Cricket, 13 for 226. A hat-trick in Test cricket. 19 Test wickets in just 3 matches. 63 ODI wickets. 23 wickets at a single ODI venue. A record that stood until 2019. But statistics alone cannot measure what she achieved. Because Shaiza Khan's true victory was not in numbers. It was in possibility. She proved that Pakistani women could compete globally. She proved that resistance could be overcome with resilience. She proved that leadership is not about applause. It's about courage. Today, when young girls in Pakistan pick up a cricket bat without fear, when they train in academies, when they dream of World Cups, they are walking through doors she forced open. Her story is not just about cricket. It is about daring to build what does not exist. It is about choosing country over comfort. It is about standing firm when society pushes back. And it is a reminder to every dreamer watching this. If the path doesn't exist, build it. Because one determined person can change a nation. Shaiza Khan did.